8 o'clock. You know how we do. After 8 is definitely after 8 o'clock. Today we are titling it Full Disclosure. Do you disclose, or how much do you disclose to your partner when it comes to some of the sicknesses, diseases and illnesses that are plaguing you? Do you go in full disclosure, or do you disclose as the relationship progresses? And are you one of those people that are married to somebody but the person does not even know some of the diseases that you may have? Those are the types of conversations that we're going to be having after 8 this evening, and you get to be a part of it. Right now, though, it's 10 minutes after 7 o'clock. Let's go pay some bills. When we come back, we begin the conversation with the African National Congress. The Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, is in the studio with us.
Metro FM. Yeah, it's where you want to be.
Enjoy a world-class selection at supermarket prices with deals like Clifton Premium Brandy 750ml, 2 for 349 Rand, and 330ml Heineken Beer NRB. All variants, any 2 6-packs for 155 Rand. Valid till 10 December at Checkers Liquor Shop. Not for persons under the age of 18. Drink responsibly.
Eintracht Frankfurt plans to have things their way when they clash with the giants of German football Bayern München. They believe a win is more exciting on home ground, while the Bavarians are gunning for strictly 3 points to settle at the top of the table. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch the superb contest between Eintracht Frankfurt and Bayern München on Saturday 9 December at 3 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
In South Africa, every 63 seconds, a woman is a victim of gender-based violence.
Is this the time to come home?
Babe, it's only 9.
I said, is this the time to come home? Huh?
It's time to stop the clock.
Baby, I'm so sorry. I need help.
Take the Champions for Change course at noexcusesa.com to learn how.
Hi there. If you recognize my voice, you'll know this is a 30-second ad for Pineapple. Go to pineapple.co.za for 100% insurance, 0% other stuff. As you can hear, we've updated the ad. For those that have been wondering whether we knew our ads were being cut short, yes, it was bugging us too. Unfortunately, there's no getting around the legal line. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Old Mutual Insure, licensed FSP and non-life insurer. T's and C's apply. Sadly, this also still means that we don't really have enough time.
Here we go! Johannesburg, stand up. Let's go. It's your turn.
Metro FM Heatwave.
The Metro FM Heatwave is back to turn up the heat in your city.
Let's see if y'all ready. We're going to start slow.
Join us at the park at Emperor's Palace, Ekurhuleni, Saturday, 9th of December, featuring Shemsa, DJ Kent, DJ Maporisa, Young Stunna, Bukle, Maruma Pitch, Oscar Mbo, Metro FM Sumizi, LKG, Lamise, Lulu Cafe, Kings of the Weekend, TD, Prue Love, and many more.
Put your hands in the air.
Available at CompuTicket and Ticket Pro from 250 Rand. Gates open at 12. The Metro FM Heatwave.
It's going down, baby. Hashtag the party never stops.
It's the party that never stops.
Can we just talk?
Metro FM Talk with Faith Mangope. Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
It is 30 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday evening. While we begin our conversations today with a sit-down moment with the ANC Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula joins us in the studio today to shed light on his views on politics, where we're heading as the governing party of the country, and more than anything else, what does the political future look like for South Africa? Thank you so much, SG, for your time this evening, and welcome to Metro FM Talk. I must say, welcome home. Maybe I should start by saying that.
Yes, well, thank you very much, and Faith, and to the listeners, and thank you for having us.
I'd like us to start with a look at the evolution of the African National Congress, especially since the time of John Dube, Pixley, Isakaseme, Solomon Blakey, for example, and to what we're seeing it today. When you read up on the history of it, the enemy was clearly defined, and that was to break off the shackles of colonial imperialism during that time. What is the new enemy of the African National Congress in 2023, or who is the new enemy of the African National Congress in 2023?
A very difficult question about how we see the enemy and what is the enemy. The enemy is actually defined in terms of what you are facing and what you are advocating for. The ANC is advocating or standing for a free, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, prosperous South Africa. So the enemy becomes anyone who stands against that and who seek to oppose you. It is elusive. It's not as clear as it used to be because pockets of it are found within the contestation of the state as a tool we seek to transform, to realize our strategic objective. And enemies of this against this transformation manifest themselves differently. Whereas in the past, the enemy, like you said, was distinct, clearer, and that was located not just in the state, but the state that existed then, including its elements, were inimical to the people because they were defined by a system of racial segregation.
So if anybody that stands against the transformation, the economic and political transformation of this country, that would be deemed as an enemy.
Prosperity to us means advancing the cause of those who did not have the opportunity to participate or benefit from the means of. So it means you've got to dismantle barriers, challenges that prohibit our people from benefiting and even becoming part of the economic heights of this country. In this particular instance, you will realize that we just a dot. In fact, the black majority and the black middle strata, we have actually created benefit from the small cake of tenders and public funds to an extent that we have moved. We have produced fewer billionaires, but entirely the economy is still in the hands of the few and male-dominated.
The few white
male-dominated economy. Yeah.
And if the state of the economy is still in the hands of the few white dominated, yesterday SG I was having a conversation with economists that were speaking about the loans that we keep taking out, right? The World Bank, the IMF, and the like, and some of the conditions that are attached to those loans, and also the historical context of loans. So if you look back into 1982, when we saw that the then apartheid government was taking out loans, I think they borrowed from Reagan's tenure about I think it was $1 billion or so, and these are incurred debts that came in post-democracy. In that, and with the intricacies that it took to govern, do you think that the African National Congress in the beginning, in 1994, actually had the capacity to govern? Do you think that they had the willingness to govern, but did they have the capacity to govern? Because in 2023, if the hands of the economy is still with white men, I have to ask about the capacity within which A, we were negotiating, but also the capacity B of governing. There's no question about the will to govern, but did we have the capacity as the African National Congress to govern?
The struggle for economic emancipation is protracted, the same as the struggle for political freedom was protracted and was realized. So to get to a state where you call this country free in terms of economy, it's a protracted struggle. There's a whole lot of things you needed to do and you still need to do to temper with the things that make us not to move fully to prosperity, which is shared and inclusive and equitable. So what does that mean? It means that if you want to achieve equitability, it means that you've got to develop the legislation and laws that enable you to actually move forward quicker and faster. One of those has been the thorny issue of land. Just to pick on it, that land expropriation without compensation, it defines the moment of how you are moving faster in relation to that. Obviously, those who command the heights and will actually stand fast against you moving in that direction. And then you've got to temper the monopolies and ensure that there is equitability in terms of economy, which is what we have done in creating the Competition Commission to dismantle monopolies and ensure that there is equitable share and everybody participate. And that is why you've got these revelations up to the last one recently of manipulation of the rand, the collusion in the construction mafia side, which is mainly dominated by few white companies. And our people, for them to participate in this means they have to actually, we had to introduce black economic empowerment. We moved to broad-based and ensuring that whatever actually happened, there is a stake for the youth, for women, for disability, and all of that. All what has been paraded is just a few faces in the beginning who have become beneficiaries, but black economic empowerment is much broader in terms of the beneficiaries, in terms of the deals that have been made, and all of that. All of that guided by the ANC's ready to govern, ANC policies in relation to what must happen.
But can we have a general consensus that we could have negotiated better? We left the economy on the table of the negotiating table. Yes, we took the ability for us to vote, which was the big significant part. Black people were left out of this. So we took on the political autonomy of the country, but we still left the economic autonomy of the country at the table. That's why this country still today, if you have to ask why is it that the top management positions, especially in private sector, are white-owned or white male, same reason, the economy was left at the table of the negotiating or the table of the negotiating table. So could we and can we have that consensus that maybe in hindsight, right, the best way to reflect is in hindsight, we could have negotiated better?
We had a negotiated political settlement which was guided by ANC's intervention on the strategic perspective, avoiding bloodshed and civil war in this country. But we have said that 1994 is a breakthrough that enabled us to have access over levers of power to accelerate transformation. It was a major breakthrough. And in this instance, it has actually opened up the state, as it were, to the exposure of us coming in to transform it to become what we want it to be. So nothing was left. It was a strategic breakthrough. In itself, it was not defined as an end. That is why when we turned 100 years in our strategy and tactics, we said the second transition is about economic freedom. And we further gave meaning in policy to that. When we arrived in Nazareth, we then said in our strategy and tactics second amendment, it must not just be about economic freedom, it must be radical. And giving meaning to that meant being radical, that we will create pharmaceutical state companies, we will nationalize the Reserve Bank, which there is a big resist in relation to that. And then we will do what we just did yesterday, create national health insurance for all. And then we will then create a state bank, which is what we have actually started right now. Now, those who contest state power and those who are in charge, which is the ruling class, which we have defined at the beginning, are not sitting on their laurels and let go for free. So hence 1994 in itself is not an end, but the beginning of acceleration. So state power is contested. In a sense, and what it means for us is that in that state power we know what we want to achieve. It's not entirely in our hands. That is why you will still talk of sabotage, people seeking to gang up to reverse our gains, and then by taking the only tool at the disposal of the masses out of power, so that this power must then become something else, that it will be elusive, diluted, and that is it. So What have we learned in the past almost 30 years is that this period going forward, as defined in our strategy and tactics, must be brought to full realization with all the things that we have actually started to transform the state to be what we want it to be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of those lessons. I mean, let's look at the ANC's performance, right? So elections in 1994 saw the African National Congress taking about 62.7% of the vote. It went on to just under 70% during the former President Thabo Mbeki's tenure. It then went on to about 65.9% or so in 2019. Then it went up to about 62.2% in 2014. And then we also saw it going into 62.2%, and then 2019 was one of the lowest times, which was 57, obviously 0.2% as well. We've seen that steady decline. We saw that moment of peak with just under 70% during the time of former President Thabo Mbeki, and now we're sitting at about 57.2%, and obviously we're waiting for the national elections of next year. Is it a case of, if you reflect, bad leadership or bad strategy? Because if it was good leadership and good strategy, the African National Congress should technically be taking 80% of that vote, because the people would have been happy with the performance of the African National Congress and the service delivery of the African National Congress. But we're sitting at 57.4% or so, and we're still waiting for that 2024 election. So what are we attributing this to? Bad leadership or just bad policy, bad strategy? Not even policies, because the policies of the African National Congress are clear. But is it the strategy within which we implement the policies that becomes flawed?
You need to look at both subjective and objective factors that define that decline in terms of not performance, interest of people to vote. 1994, which people say it will be theirs next year, you had the biggest turnout, but we got the lowest vote under Nelson Mandela, which was 62%. We doubled up with Mbeki when people said, who will fill Mandela's shoes? 1999. It was Thabo Mbeki. They said, this man is not known. This man, he is elite. He's not the people's president. He's above society in terms of thinking. We showed them flames, and it is the masses who responded to that question with overwhelming victory. We won the ANC. The turnout in terms of not just the percentage that produced 2/3 majority, the turnout of voting was was huge, right? Now, 2004, we double up again, and then when we drop, we still have a lower turnout, but the ANC emerging victorious, and. To date, we came from 54% and recovered to 57% in terms of the comparison of the last election. So that's why we define it as a period of a recovery in terms of the election. And that produced 54%.
Recovering from what? What were you recovering from?
We were recovering from 54%. And then
what caused that 54%?
The 54%, like I said, subjective, objective, fundamentally was the issue of, on the other side, demobilization of the populace to participate in the democratic process.
Why were people so jaded that they did not want to participate in the democratic processes? Political consciousness does not just come in from people understanding politics. Political consciousness comes in from people understanding that the politics that stand for them are actually delivering the services for them. What caused the people to feel so jaded by political consciousness that they chose to stay away from the voting stations?
It will not be static.
Yeah.
It will not be static. It will depend what you do at that political moment, at that particular moment, to get them out to vote. They might be despondent about their issues, but over and above that, as democracy matures, people do not take their right to vote as a citizen's call. because the right to vote is what is enshrined in the Constitution. You are not making ANC a favor or any political party. It's your citizenry responsibility. And even if you are despondent, you must still take that right of yours and then use it in the voting booth to showcase your displeasure about the government of the day or around issues that you don't like.
While the people of South Africa despondent.
At the end of the day, the voting patterns are dependent on the fact that is the citizenry getting more conscious, excited about the political process and participation, and that is the point that at all times beckons for any other country. Even advanced democracies are still grappling with the question of the voter turnout.
Why?
And that is
South
why
Africans
they produce coalition governments.
Yeah.
Coalition governments are as a result of people not coming out to vote. But in this particular instance, the ANC has always emerged victorious.
But why are people despondent?
The people get despondent for various reasons that they don't partake, or then they suffer from political apathy. And it is a reality, it's a phenomenon that is there.
Could it be
just disinterest of participation?
Yeah. Could it be also that the people are tired of services and promises that are made to them and promises not delivered to them? That they formulate despondency is not caused by joy. Despondency is caused by perpetual not getting perpetual agitation at not getting what you were promised. Could it be that the citizenship of this country are despondent because they feel as though the promises that were made to them have consistently not been kept? And I want to be fair to the African National Congress and say that you have done a lot in the 30 years of government. To say that you've done nothing will be number one, simplistic, but also number two, untrue. You have done a lot, but also in the lot that you have done, there's a lot of despondency that has been created by your own electorate, people that could potentially vote for you. So I'm asking, the services that could have been delivered to the people, did we completely deliver those services to the people?
Look, we have not said that our being in power has been just a smooth sailing without challenges, and without blunders, without mistakes. The despondency partly, as you characterize it further, it could be about that. The fact that people feel that services or whatever are not being delivered and so on. But over and above that, you cannot dispel the notion that people just get disinterested. And we need to, if you look at the numbers of the voter registration, they've not been increasing. It's only now that for the first time we saw the numbers shooting up. But you basically talk about the same generation of people that is voting. So we need to entice generations after generations to participate in the political process. Yeah. Listen, whoever comes into government, ANC, you will face what is called sins of incumbency. The question of how you deal with incumbency sins, it depends on the agility of the ruling party, which is what the ANC have done to look at, here are the sins of incumbency, what do we need to do to nourish and rekindle the love of the people for the African National Congress. It's not a blank check they give to us. They want things to change for the better, even when they criticize us. And then they say things to us, we reflect. We must reflect that indeed, in certain local government areas, today we are with hang municipalities in some and all of that, and we have not managed to come back. Certain things that are wrong were done. And that is what is reflected in the coalition governments, not because people have left us. They just get despondent, stay at home. They did not even go to our opponents. So that's what has actually happened, because if they went to our opponents or voted for them, the status quo will definitely change. But even at our weakest period in the challenges that we have faced as a liberation movement here in South Africa, our people have stayed with the ANC.
We're going to take a few of your calls. I do see some of your calls as well. We're going to take calls. We're going to take voice notes. We're taking it all the way. But before I go to the phone lines, at the 54th National Conference of the African National Congress, I think it was in 2017, it was also then the Treasurer General, Zweli Mkhize. He was given the financial report to the conference, and he basically indicated that the African National Congress was about 215 million rand in debt and had a deficit that was exceeded at about 47 million rand or so. By 2017 already, we still had the African National Congress. It was almost the threat there at the time, and what was being perpetuated, it was that it was practically insolvent. We had staff from that time, 2017, I think it was about 2018, we've witnessed it about last year as well, where staff was sporadically would protest, they would go to Luthuli House, we would cover it as the media, saying that they have not been paid. There's also that 10 million rand
obligations. We do. Are we looking at the elections in terms of funding and all of that? Like all elections, we raise money and to fight an election, and that's what we do as the party, and that's what we're doing at the present moment.
How does the governing party, because that's what you are, you're the governing party,
yes,
of the country, which is financially challenged in its purse, right? And I've made reference to even what was shared by the then TG during the financial report. So it's something that is public knowledge. It's not personal knowledge. It's public knowledge. How does the governing party, which says it's financially challenged, turn around and is able to give the South African citizenship confidence that it can manage the country's purse if it struggles to manage its purse? You're the governing party who are struggling to manage your own purse. How do you manage the country's purse?
We came into office this in about a week or so. Yeah. We will be celebrating 1 year into office, and we've managed to stabilize the financial affairs of the ANC. And they were quite optimistic that will even be better and better going forward. You know, what you need to look at as a party is that we've got huge obligations and we've got a big human resource capacity. And we are also a caring party. We had people coming from exile and then into the country and all of that. Our welfare was outweighing our own obligations in terms of the core business of running the party. So we had to cut all of that. You come from exile, you were born there, you come inside the country, that becomes the obligation of the party. And then some of the people as old as 70 and so on continue to earn, some up until today, from the ANC. So we've got huge obligations. And because of that, that has affected our financial standing in relation to the core business of managing the party. other political parties don't have the obligations that the ANC have.
I
so
hear
that
you,
is why
SG.
they will not have financial difficulties.
But how do I trust you with the purse of the Republic if you're struggling?
The purse of the Republic in terms of trust in relation to the party. Does the ANC have the capacity to account for its finances, govern well and all of that? It does. What is affecting the ANC? It is the deficit of debt that it is actually having. And servicing that particular debt over a period of time, which is caused largely by cost like human resource, like I explained to you, and all of that. We are able to produce sound financial reports, and that is it. But we are financially challenged as a party. We rely on donors and fundraising, and that's what we rely on. So we've consistently built our investment capacity to be able to generate consistent financial capacity for the ANC. And that's what we're doing, and that's why you realize stability, because you've got sound financial person running the business of the ANC and being able to account, but at the same time keep the organization afloat.
Let's take some of your calls. As I said, won't you just try to keep I'm going to take back-to-back calls as well. You get to speak to the Secretary General of the African National Congress. Let me start off with Moses in Ekurhuleni. Hi, Moses.
Hello.
Yes, Moses. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I would like to thank you as a presenter for starting from 1994. I'm also intending to start from there. In 1994, when the African National Congress decided to engage the National Party, I believe it would have been prudent to have freedom fighting movements combining efforts like they were combining efforts to fight the apartheid monster, to have a committee and come out with a clear-cut constitution to say our negotiation is based on this. You found Azapo singing different song. You found PAC singing a different song because why? They were alienated by this giant called ANC. Like the SG is saying, they had international donors. Those were capturers by then who bought their voices to say, don't mention this when you are negotiating. Then come to 1996. I remember a news reporter asked Ms. Mandela about the wealthy comrades who were starting to be rich. In particular, they mentioned Usaki Matsozoma. Mr. Mandela's answer was very clear. He said, freedom fighters did not fight to be poor. If you find that clip, please play it.
I hear you,
because
Moses.
That is where the foundation of a lack of accountability was laid.
I hear you. Moses, I got to run, so I've got calls back to back, but I've definitely taken in your point. Let me go from Ekurhuleni to the Eastern Cape with Tsepo. Tsepo, hi.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. And you, sir? Go ahead.
I'm okay. My question, I've actually got two questions. The first one being his implication in the 500 million scandal, and what does he have to say about Mavuso Msimang's resignation from the ANC, because he mentioned a lot of corruption going on in the ANC, and him being a former ANC veteran and exile member himself, he had a lot of information, because he's one of the people who vilified President Zuma. So I'd just like to know, Uguti, what's his take on the whole situation with regards to Mavuso Msimang and the 500 million.
I got you. No, don't worry. We're getting there. We're getting there in the conversation. We're building it up. Let me go to, is it Zondwa or Zotwa in Johannesburg? Hi.
Hi, Faith. I don't want to waste your time. I just want to talk to you what you touched on when you gave Fikile time to actually say what is it that the ANC wants to achieve. He talked about land expropriation without compensation, and I feel like that is actually a spit on the face to us as black people, because they were given an opportunity to actually expropriate land without compensation, and they backtracked on that in Parliament. To say and then they changed the tune to say that the policy of the ANC is expropriation of land with nil compensation. Backtracking on actually what is on the Freedom Charter. So I would like to plead with people to stop lying to South Africa, because now it's time for electioneering and they want votes. They have no desire to change the lives of the people. They don't have the desire to actually have people have their hands into the economy of this country. What they want to do is to keep supervising and be the security guards of those the very monopolies that he's talking about. Can you please not refrain from lying to South Africans? Thank you so much.
Zondo, I hear you. Let me go to Ntlantla in KwaZulu-Natal. Ntlantla, hi.
No, my sister, thank you for taking my call.
Absolute pleasure, sir.
To my brother Fikile Mbalula, and we respect the role that they play as the ANC, but the problem is the rise of inequality of this country. While they are in charge as the people are still suffering, and we're still talking about compensation while Constitution of 1961, Act 31, Section 12C, says unregistered landholders need to be compensated. Why are we still compensating a thief?
I hear you. I hear you. Much appreciated for that one as well. Look, I'm trying to take in your calls back to back so that I can give everybody an opportunity to ask the questions. We are jotting them down. I'm going to pause at Musa from the Eastern Cape. Okay, Musa from the Eastern Cape is not here yet. We're going to also go into your voice notes in just a moment as well, and we're going to give the SG an opportunity to actually respond to all of these questions that you've had. But let me start off with the one. The African National Congress has been criticized extensively, even by the elders, including the leaders of the ANC. Case in point, the former president Thabo Mbeki, and I believe that it was even during a eulogy reading of the late deputy minister Aziz Pahad, where he said that since the adoption of the renewal resolution in 2017 and 2022, nothing tangible has actually been done to implement it. There was also the letter that was written to the deputy president Paul Mashatile of the ANC, using in there was the criticism of the African National Congress using its majority in Parliament to protect the President Cyril Ramaphosa against accountability by shooting down the Phala report. The latest now, as mentioned by our caller, is Mavuso Msimang, Deputy President of the African National Congress Veterans League, resigning from the political party after more than 60 years. You've been criticized by your elders, including those who led the organizations. How do you reflect on some of the criticism that has been said that the ANC's renewal project is either A, not renewing fast enough, or B, failing? And to Mavuso's point, he just simply resigned now.
Let me explain this first, that the ANC accept dissent. It doesn't start now. These are conventions in the party. It accepts dissent in its ranks, the right to differ, to influence the direction the party must take. If we do not the second unwritten rule is that there are things that are not done. Either you are an elder or a former statesman, you don't indulge and criticize those who are leading in currently. You give them space to lead because you were there before. Mandela had views about HIV and AIDS. He never went public and attacked anybody. What he did, he came to the forum of the ANC, NWC and the NEC, and addressed the NEC on the matters. And he was chastised and he left. Even when he was even angry and felt bad about it, he left at around 1 o'clock. He never came back. He never went out public and have off the record discussions criticizing the leadership that was in charge then. He observed from far and said, give people antiretrovirals, let them make their choice. We had our views then. We said the legislature, not the judiciary, should not prescribe policy from the bench, because who must determine that people need nevirapine and antiretrovirals? It is the government, which means they must test those things, their toxicity and all of that, whether they are good for human beings and all of that. It's not judiciary. Those were the views that we're expressing then. Not that Mandela did not have views, but he gave space. What we are seeing today is unprecedented. No president in this country ever went on without challenges. Zuma had his own challenges. Big, huge. No support, Save South Africa marches and all of that. No support he got. Even Msimanga you are talking about, Uput Mavuso, was the biggest critic of Jacob Zuma in his era. President Mbeki understood that unwritten convention not to step up and criticize Zuma. He stood back. It is Ramaphosa's time now. It doesn't mean that Ramaphosa, as the president, he doesn't have weaknesses. At the same time, he's a person who's open to engagement. Ramaphosa doesn't lead alone. He leads with a collective. If any of our leaders, like Mavuso Msimanga, who was the deputy president of the Veterans League, we are open to engagement. It is not correct that renewal has not produced a result. If renewal was not grinding, Magashule will still be in the party today. And many other comrades, they will still be in the party. If renew, for the first time, the ANC took resolutions to renew itself in the fight against corruption, even way ahead of the constitution, principles of jurisprudence. The ANC does not today say presumption of innocence till you are proven otherwise. The ANC says once you are arrested, step aside. Magashule will be still SG, probably elected in a conference today. Many of our leaders are affected by these measures we have taken.
Former President Jacob Zuma.
Renewal also has introduced integrity. Mavuso Msimanga, Uput Mavuso, 2 weeks ago I met with them. They cry about the issue, not cry. They raise issues about integrity. We have placed those issues on the agenda. They have been attended to. They raise issues about their people who have not appeared before the Integrity Commission and that they must be taken to DC. A whole lot of those people, I've sent them to the DC. They are about 90, who some of them, I doubt even they still have active membership of the ANC. We will give a report on that. So renewal embraced all of those things. Now, it is regrettable that at this moment we can have, we don't take it for granted that here is somebody we look up to and who was an open critic and having a decent view, a view of dissent in the party, and leaving us. And then and he says he's not going to form any political party. Fine and good. It's regrettable. And the fact of the matter is that the ANC, as always, will reflect on this moment. It's not something we take lightly. When somebody leaves the party, arrogantly, we say that, no, we don't care, let them go. No. This moment will still be reflected upon, including the letter that is circulating. All what we say to them as our elders is that don't attack the party as though there's no leadership and that leadership is not listening to you. Mandela, when he went to the NEC and raised his views about HIV and AIDS and criticized the sitting president then, Mandela had about 100 calls he did not, which were not answered. 100 calls. I was in that meeting. Madiba left a happy man. And he never wrote and organized marches. HIV and AIDS became a stigma.
So do you think that former President Thabo Mbeki is being hypocritical, or was being hypocritical in the writing of the letters, in the public dissent, in the public criticism?
He is not. I have said it in public. We have said it to him. I have just told you now, ANC allows dissent. What he has done the right thing. It was leaked to the media and all of that. We met with him. He told us first the things you are addressing there, and we explained to him that we will not move on the things that is actually addressing, and we gave the reasons why we will not on those particular issues. And the fact of the matter is that we engage with stalwarts, with veterans, with everybody, and around issues that they raise, the Veterans League all the time. We have said, in fact, to the Veterans League, you can't be equal to the Youth League and the Women's League. You need to be a council of elders so that you tell us where to get off. But how do you become a council of elders when you address your children every day outside your household? And then who are you pleasing outside? And insulting your kids and everything outside. Call them. If you think that there is a problem like Mandela did, call us into a meeting, say these things if you think that we are not responding enough to us. And then that's it. But if you criticize the ANC, for instance, and tell South Africa that ANC is corrupt to the core, and then next year we're going to an election, how do you expect the people of South Africa, you are mobilizing against the ANC, to respond to that? Because you are the most reputable, uncorruptible, respected voice in society. It's not even our opponents we are afraid of. It's not. Our opponents are weak. They represent retrogression because they are telling the whole of South Africa that we'll take you back before 1994. We'll scrap everything that is about social transformation. That's what they tell our people out there on their own. Our opponents, in that sense, they represent those ideas of backwardness and all of that, anti-progress. The ANC knows very well where it has done wrong, it has committed mistake, and it must fix those mistakes, and that's what we're doing.
Let's talk about fixing mistakes, because I also wanted to go into the allegations that have been leveled against you. You've subsequently opened a criminal injurer and defeating the ends of justice case against Mthunzi Mdwaba, who was, by the way, here on Metro FM Talk, speaking about the very same allegations of you and other ministers trying to solicit a 500 million rand bribe. He was on this show saying that not only does he have the proof, but he's got the proof that he actually wants to take to court. He said to me, Faith, I've got the proof. I think I must have asked him that question about 3 times. You can't make statements about corruption if you don't have the proof. And he said, Faith, I've got the proof. SG, were you involved in soliciting a 500 million rand bribe from Mthunzi?
In the first place, I don't know. I don't have even his number. I've never met Mthunzi. And I've taken him on those charges that he has made public about me. I've opened a case. I did not only end there. I have written to him to provide facts about what he's talking about. He knows wherever he is, wherever he's sitting, that Mbalula Fikile never ask any 10% from him. He must mention the people who went to him and asked 10% from him. If they used my name or the name of the ANC, that's what he must mention. I am not afraid of him. If he can bring a piece of, evidence.
Or WhatsApp messages.
Or anything.
You're saying that you've never, ever come into contact with Mthunzi Mdwaba.
I've never come into contact. If ever I'm not even a sophisticated liar, a blatant liar, I will leave this position of Secretary General of the ANC. I'm telling you right now. I won't give my organization a bad name over a matter of my greediness and stealing and all of that. I don't know Mthunzi about that matter. I brought the matter to the NWC. I called Tulas to the meeting to explain. When I saw UIF matter running around in the press that there is a 5 billion to be given to somebody and all of that. It was a big issue on the news. I called Tulas, he was out of the country, and then he came, not even himself, but his deputy, to explain the story. We understood what is actually happening. from the explanation that they gave to the NWC, because there are no holy cows. I needed to understand what's happening, and the party needed to understand Luthuli House. Now, here am I'm looking for a bribe. I can be calling somebody to come and explain on a matter that I know I've got an interest on.
Was Minister Thulas Nxesi involved or in any way trying to, because we can't say he doesn't know, because we saw the messages that clearly they know each other, and there has been an admittance of some sort that there is familiarity with each other. But could there have been a solicitation of bribes on behalf of the other ministers that were mentioned, Thulas Nxesi, Blade Nzimande and the like? You're saying you've never met this guy, but what about those other ministers?
If ever they have their dealings, we'll deal with them.
So if Thulas Nxesi is found that he actually did solicit a bribe, you will deal with him as African National Congress?
We will deal with him.
How?
Anyone.
How?
Through our processes in terms of the organization, because it's not even crossing the line. It is a blatant corruption where you basically go and ask 10% from people and all of that. That is wrong. It's incorrect. It's not even a behavior that you need to negotiate about whether or not the person is correct. It's incorrect. What Mthunzi is doing is smearing people, and then without providing grounds for that. He's been sitting with this thing, according to him, for a year. When his deal, it is not going through and fell through, he then decided to say, it didn't because I refused to give people. It didn't because they didn't want me to become DG of Labor. For a year, you are an officer of the law. Preka demand of you. And you are so squeaky clean. And you are an incorruptible person. You just want 5 billion, like yesterday, to create more jobs. You are genuine. You are a businessman. What stopped him from evoking Preka and basically take these people head on right at the beginning? Here am I assisting my government. I'm bringing ideas. I've got a deal on the table. Ministers, including their SG, they are standing on my way and they are demanding 10%. Give the affidavit. Let's deal with the affidavit. Go to court. Don't dance around and come to Faith Mangope and then smear people's name. You are not a court. You are not a cop. You are not a court of law where an officer like him, as a chairman of Productivity South Africa, which the law requires of him, to actually how to act on matters of that nature. He comes here, smear our names. We must explain ourselves day and night for things we don't know. At least for me, I don't know. And I have said to him, and then I don't have Mthunzi's number. I've never met Mthunzi, had dealings with him for business. I don't know him like that. I know him to be Mr. Fitness. Actually, I see you with that T-shirt when we're doing the Mandela thing. I started doing cycling, right? Mm-hmm. And then Mthunzi is a fanatic of cycling. He got money espitayo and ibonayo ndicinga bafane right. I don't know what he's doing. He's an educated man. He speaks proper English all the time. Far away from me, Mthunzi. I don't know whether he drinks or what he does. Maybe there could be something like that we share together. Dololo. I don't have anything like that sorts. I'm open and I'm very clear. That's why I woke up, went to the police station. Here is a man saying things about me, and I'm seeing him for the first time on TV.
So he's lying, basically. That's what you're saying. Mthunzi is lying.
I mean, I'm telling you that there is no truthfulness there. If there is, he should be saying there are people from Mbalula's office who came to me, claimed this and that. Then I take steps. Or he should have. At some point, he claimed that he's a member of the ANC. Everybody, at least now in South Africa, knows Luthuli House. There is a human being there called Mbalula. He could have come to me and said, SG, I've got a problem here. I'm trying to create jobs and all of that with my company. Your ministers are stealing. This is what they do. Dololo.
Well, let's take some of your voice notes as well. We've got voice notes, we've got calls, we've got so much that we need to talk about this evening. Secretary General of the African National Congress is in the studio. Let's start off with some of your voice notes.
Yes, it's Faith and the SG. SG, very good evening. SG, What I would love to see my Congolese doing is to intensify the campaigns. Intensify the campaigns and just be decisive, SG. Just be decisive. Of course, kukhonkothwe ehambayo. I-ANC ayizuyekwa nje ihlale nje kukhonkothwe ehambayo, but Congolese must make it a point that they are decisive. What actions must speak louder than words now. Actions must speak louder than words, SG.
Good evening, Faith. In one of the statements, President Zuma, who's a very well-known intelligence operative of the ANC in the days of struggle, he said that there were enemy agents, apartheid spies, which were planted by the apartheid system in the ANC pre-94 to sabotage and stall and redirect the direction and the position of the ANC on liberating the black nation, total emancipation of our people. I asked the SG then, does he think or does he believe currently in the NEC or in the leadership echelons of the ANC that are there still enemy agents or apartheid spies that are in full operation to sabotage the work of the ANC and the growth of the ANC and the success of the ANC, which ultimately culminates into curbing or stalling the success of a black nation or a liberation of the black nation from political liberation to economic liberation?
I hear you. I've got some of your voice, so let me take some of your calls as well. Let me go to, is it Sam? Sam, hi.
Yeah, kunjani Fik?
Ngiyaphila wena unjani bhuti? Where are you calling from, Sam?
No, Musa.
Oh,
Eastern Cape,
Musa from the Eastern Cape. Oh, ngiyaxolisa kakhulu bhuti. Go ahead,
No,
Musa.
no, it's fine. Okay, good evening to everyone. Okay. Yeah, I think my take or my comment is about political interference as to how the ruling party is towards the entities like ESCOM, SAPC. There's always political interference. They allow those entities to run its operations without their interference. And then the second issue of it is their MPs in Parliament. You know, remember the case of the Palapala saga. The president was protected, even though the former judge said that there might be a case against the president, the current president, but he still was protected by his MPs in Parliament. But the former protector was chased away. Meanwhile, he was starting investigating the current president. That is all of it.
Much appreciated for it. We're going to give you all an opportunity to respond to this. We're going to have to answer, I don't know, if they used to call it Askari, the spies of apartheid. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about political interference within state-owned enterprises and, of course, what has transpired in Parliament. But before I get there, let's also speak about this matter because it was just happening even yesterday on my show as well. Shafiq Saleh from Ezulwini Investment yesterday on the show explaining the alleged services rendered by Ezulwini Investment. They still claim to this day, and of course we understand that this was also overseen by 3 courts. In fact, it was 2 judgments that were handed down in 2020 in September. We also had another one at the Johannesburg High Court in June 2022. Ezulwini Investment says you owe them money, over 102 million. In fact, they're saying plus interest, it totals to about 140 million for banners. I think about 30,000 or so banners that were made for the ANC campaign. They maintain that they owe. They're saying that the courts even favored them. The reason why you took it to the Constitutional Court is because you don't have another way out. It's a stalling tactic. SG, why aren't we just paying the people the money? And who was part of that deal of Ezulwini Investment? Because clearly something was shaken upon or a deal was struck or something was made to the point where it even got to the courts.
Thank you very much for the question. I explained yesterday, let me explain to you again, that the ANC is not in a business of fighting with service providers and small enterprises. We owe people a lot of money for many years in the election campaign. And people who support the ANC and so on, they don't get paid we enter into terms of paying off the debt of what we owe. The reason why we oppose Zulwini, we never entered into any agreement with them. They had an agreement and they worked on it with 2 staffers at Luthuli House, junior for that matter. The other one worked in the office of the head of elections, which was headed by me, and then used my signature and then to facilitate this deal. That is what is at the center of a debate in court about authorization. Who's got the authority to sanction that this and that must be paid? If you are in a company, you operate as the CEO, you are not given a blank check. You can operate within a budget of 500 million on your own discretion. And then the rest you must subject it to the board. Where on earth could the ANC have taken a decision to produce PVC, not just banners? You know PVC? It's the most expensive banner to the tune of 87 million. When in the campaign, we were struggling with money and producing posters. The people, do yourself a favor, the people who produce posters, that budget is a budget for the whole campaign. The whole campaign that they are talking about. It means we shouldn't have had problems of posters, banners. PVC is a nice to have. In the campaign, you want total visibility. If we had PVCs, the PVCs I saw here in South Africa, all over, and in strategic places was the EFF. And I even one time joked with Malema, I said, hey, you are winning the aerial battle, you are hitting us hard, and all of that. In our election room, all our election practitioners and people we're operating with, they know that the core of our discussion every day was about the banners. Now they say they've produced banners, they procured them on our behalf, 87 million. How do you as a company procure 87 million banners without a proper agreement?
SG, let me go pay some bills, we'll come back and talk some more.
At Zero, we know there's nothing small about small business. Small, we think of you as self-made. Zero, accounting software for self-made business.
Buffo, and then smiling at your phone?
It's my calling all-star team.
How's it looking?
Through to midfield, cross to box, does it take it?
It's just fantasy soccer, right?
It's not fantasy, it's the Carling Cup.
It all comes to life on 6 January 2024. To choose your Carling All-Stars, buy a promo Carling Black Label, dial star 120 star 660 hash, or go to carlingblack.labelcup.com. T's and C's apply. Enjoy responsibly. Not for persons under the age of 18.
Sekhukhune United target a win in their own backyard against Stade Malien FC. Meanwhile, the Malian side refused to travel back home empty-handed. This is the CAF Confederation Cup Group D clash. Catch Sekhukhune United versus Stade Malien FC on Sunday 10 December at 8:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Wake up, drive to work, work, eat lunch, more work, gym, dinner, bed. Wake up, drive to work, work, eat lunch, more work, gym, dinner, bed. Wake up, go to work, eat lunch, taste the Pepsi Max, get promoted, hear a new track, meet the girl of your dreams, DM her, get the date, run longer, personal best, suddenly like tomatoes, sweet dreams. The unexpected happens when you try the unexpected. So, take the Pepsi Max Taste Challenge. Who knows? You might just change your drink. Pepsi. Thirsty for more.
Can we just talk?
Metro FM Talk with Faith Mangope. Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
30 minutes after 8, we're wrapping up with the SG of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula, in the studio with us. Yes, he was explaining this issue around Zulwini investment, and they claim of 140 or so million rand that they're saying that you guys owe them.
Yes, that's what they say, but we have now established through the forensic report that indeed there is corruption in the whole Zulwini matter, and and fraud, so to say. And we have submitted all of those to the police to investigate these lies that are flying around, because our leadership should have acted decisively on this matter from word-go. When I learned about this thing, before I even went to government and so on at that time, I asked Lebo, what is this? The guy just cried, because they just sat in the corner and then decided he's got paper trail. This guy was keeping tabs on them. He was having WhatsApp group. He opened WhatsApp group with them. He took all of those things to court to justify that there was a deal. Paul Mashatile, as the treasurer, his signature for concurrence is not there in that letter that Lebu and them they claim to have submitted to the ANC for payment. Now, the long and short of it is that yes, people say settle. That's what a wise company does. When you know you are weak, you settle. The unfortunate part here is that the ANC, there's a possibility that it can part ways with millions of rands for a job that was never rendered. That's the possibility here. So we are not kicking the can down the line. We owe people, and therefore, if we owed them, we would have had a silent conversation with them and agree on terms like we do with all. We contracted people to produce posters for us for the election. Ezulwini was not party to those people that were contracted to the ANC. They will never produce a contract and a piece of paper. They will never. They will tell you that there is a letter signed by Mbalula electronically, and there is also another letter they got from Lebuang that authorizes him to take such decisions. Beyond that, there is no contract. As a company, when you take heavy decisions like those of 87 million, you would have sat around the table with the TG in particular. And the TG would have said, Max, I've secured all of these things for you. Go and work. PVC and all of that. We were running short of the stock in our election house. So that's really the moral of the story, is that they are winning the case legally.
Because there are members, there are staff of the African National Congress that are involved.
There are staff of the ANC that is involved, and it is contested in court. As to whether those people had authority or not. And they themselves, that staff, have also admitted that we never had authority.
Are you afraid of getting liquidated?
We will not be liquidated. We will fight liquidation legally and otherwise. That is what we are doing right now. We can't allow a party of our standing and the tool at the disposal of the people of South Africa to be liquidated easily by crooks like that. The most painful part of it is that to avoid it at the end, when you have lost, you've got to pay them. That's it. We have to sit with that psychologically and otherwise, with the fact that we paid money that was that probably we did not have. We had to pay it to these people because they had a case on their, they won the case on their side, technically so. So that's it.
SG, I have to release you, but before I do you think that you still have agents of the apartheid government within the African National Congress, that they could potentially be spies that are perpetuating a certain agenda for imperialism, for colonialism, for apartheid, for still keeping the management of the economy as it is within the ANC, as per one of the questions?
When we came into power, we just kissed and said goodbye. And we allowed spies and all alike to be in our midst, and some to even lead. But Mandela closed that matter. When the Boers came to him with a book full of spies, he never shared it with anyone.
Spies within the ANC?
Spies in the liberation movement.
Gotcha.
Who some of them came from the ANC. And then that matter was closed. So the issue that who was a spy, who was not a spy, some of the people who make claims they can't prove. And that is why our liberation struggle survived. And we are sitting with some of them in our midst. and they speak like us, they dress like us, they are smiling like us, they drink better than us. They are there, and they still serve their masters, some of them.
In the ANC.
Of course, in the broader liberation struggle to reverse whatever we seek to do going forward. And they are doing it right in the belly of the ANC. But the ANC, for itself to be protected, we're not obsessed by looking at anybody like sniffer dogs. This one looks like a spy. No. We have kissed and said goodbye to that chapter. We deal with people on the basis of principle, and we can see the behavior of some of them, that they were not meant to be here with us forever. And it doesn't mean others, when they take their route that they take, they are spies. I hate labeling people as spies, because those who label people as spies, I'm an intelligence officer. I know people who label others as spies. Hinkunzi zempimpi ezo. And they are quick to label others as spies. And they are quick to tell. An intelligence officer never tells. You die with the information wherever you are, and you never reveal anything. You don't tell. You don't even go around telling people that they are spies. The one, Oliver Tambo said, be careful of the wedge drivers. The one who goes around, sees wrong in others and spread it, that's the person who is sent to divide and destroy the liberation movement, and they won't succeed.
African National Congress Secretary General, much appreciated for your time this evening. It's been a pleasure having you. This is not the last time that we see each other. 2024 is around the corner, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. We will be ready. Thank you for having us and your listeners. Thank you very much.
21 minutes after 8.
Listen up. Ain't gonna stop. The hottest new music station.
Now let's go.
Metro FM.
Yeah.
It's where you want to be.
Enjoy a world-class selection at supermarket prices with deals like Clipter Premium Brandy 750ml, 2 for 349 Rand, and 330ml Heineken Beer NRB. All variants, any 2 6-packs for 155 Rand. Valid till 10 December at Checkers Liquor Shop. Not for persons under the age of 18. Drink responsibly.